August 20th, 1966. A teenager flying a kite on the isolated slopes of Morro do Vintém in Niterói, Brazil, wanders into a small clearing in the thick brush and finds two bodies. The men are lying side by side on a bed of cut palm leaves, dressed in formal suits and waterproof raincoats. There are no signs of a struggle, no visible wounds, no blood. Across the upper half of their faces rests an inexplicable metallic detail. Two men climbed a hill wearing armor for their eyes. They never came down. And 58 years later, we still do not know why. Hidden cash, return bus tickets, and a receipt for a water bottle deposit. These specific, mundane objects point to a journey that was intended to have a return leg. Miguel José Viana and Manuel Pereira da Cruz were married, respected television repair technicians from the city of Campos das Goytacazes. They spent their days navigating the precise, logical worlds of radio waves and circuitry. Miguel was a student of the craft, having completed correspondence training in electronics from a technical school in Los Angeles. They were educated, professional men, far removed from the profile of transients or criminals. Despite their rational careers, Miguel and Manuel harbored deep, supernatural interests. They believed that electronics could do more than transmit television signals, that they could bridge the gap to the divine. Shortly before they disappeared, they told a neighbor they were building a device to prevent the end of the world. They believed a great cyclone would devastate the planet in 1968, and they were the ones who had to stop it. Their technical training and their apocalyptic obsession merged into a single fatal mission that eventually brought them to the clearing on the hill. The items found beside their bodies follow a bizarre ritualistic inventory: aluminum foil cups, 2 wet towels, a wedding ring tied to glasses, a wristwatch tucked inside a pocket. Other items point to a life they expected to resume. They carried thousands of cruzeros in a plastic bag, the unused return tickets for the bus ride home, and a receipt meant for a water bottle refund. Then there were the masks, 2 crude, hand-cut shields fashioned from pure lead. They were shaped like sunglasses, but they lacked eye holes. They offered only total blindness. In Miguel's pocket, police found a small notebook with a handwritten set of instructions. It read, 1630, be at specified place. 1830, ingest capsules after the effect. Protect metals, wait for signal. Mask. The capsules were missing from the scene. So were 30 kilograms of lead the men had recently purchased, far more than the small amount used to make the masks. The physical evidence presents a stark paradox. Their preparations were for a round trip, yet they died quietly in the weeds, miles from home. Detective José Venancio Bittencourt took the case, but the initial autopsy offered no clarity. The body showed no signs of trauma, struggle, or external violence. The most critical step in the investigation was Skeptoid. Citing a heavy caseload, the coroner declined to perform a toxicology report. The identity of the capsules from the notebook was left a mystery. Deep within the official records, there is a visible physical erasure on the autopsy document. A name has been aggressively scratched out. The name of forensic specialist Sebastián Fayalas was removed and replaced with Dr. Walmor Gianni. It is a detail that implies a deep disagreement, or an outside pressure, on the final findings. The state apparatus essentially looked away. By scrubbing names and skipping chemistry, authorities buried the truth in the negative space of the official record. The gaps in the case are financial as well. Family members stated the men left home with 6 million cruzeros to buy a car, but only a fraction of that cash was found in the clearing. There is a 21-minute gap in their timeline between the bus station and a local electronics store. 21 minutes is enough time to meet an unknown third party. Witness testimony was similarly sidelined. A woman reported seeing 5 men in a jeep climbing the hill that evening, and 4 separate people reported unusual UFO sightings in the area on that same day. None of these leads were investigated. The most devastating omission was the ignoring of historical context. 4 years earlier, another television technician, nicknamed Hermes, was found dead on a nearby hill. He was found in a suit, lying in the same position, wearing a lead mask over his eyes. The police closed that case without explanation. The discovery on Vintém Hill exists within a systemic pattern of fatal obsession, a pattern that the local authorities systematically refuse to acknowledge. We look to the hilltop to understand how these men died. The hilltop represents the end of their journey. In the next episode, we go back to the beach where it all started, to the explosion that shook a city. to the scientific spiritualists who believed they could talk to Mars, and to the capsules that were found in their pockets. Their mission on Morro de Vintém had consequences no one predicted. 2 electronics technicians lay dead in the tall grass of Vintém Hill. They wore identical suits and crude lead masks over their eyes. Beside them sat a cryptic note detailing a schedule to swallow capsules, and a large sum of cash they brought from their hometown was missing. The ensuing investigation stalled almost immediately. The local coroner, citing a heavy caseload, delayed the autopsy until the bodies were too decomposed to run proper toxicology tests. Worse, police soon realized they had missed a crucial precedent. 4 years earlier, in 1962, another television technician was found dead on a nearby hill, wearing the exact same type of lead mask. The bodies on the hilltop represent the grim finale of this timeline. To understand what happened, we have to rewind. We have to step away from the silence of Vintém Hill and look at the explosive, reckless experiments Miguel and Manuel were conducting in the weeks leading up to their deaths. On the evening of May 12, 1966, Miguel, Manuel, and their friend Elcio drove out to Atafona beach. At 9 p.m., a massive explosion rocked the coastline. A blinding fireball erupted into the sky, remaining visible for 10 kilometers. The blast shook the ground so violently that a nearby movie theater emptied in absolute panic. When Detective Walter Fernandez arrived to investigate, he found a deep trench blown into the sand. It measured 35 centimeters wide by 25 centimeters deep, and the air around it carried a heavy, lingering stench of sulfur. Prior to the blast, Miguel had contacted a clandestine ham radio operator named Evaristo Fidelis de Moraes. Moraes owned a highly powerful, unregistered transmitter located just 300 meters from the explosion site. The Brazilian military intercepted 3 radio signals originating from that exact area on the night of the explosion. The broadcasts used unregistered call signs and could never be traced back to a known operator. The explosive physical phenomena Miguel and Manuel generated caught the attention of the Navy, turning their private experiments into a matter of national security. Back in their hometown of Campos, the men operated out of a modest electronics workshop. Manuel's wife later confirmed that the lead masks were hammered out of a piece of scrap pipe right here the day before their final trip. When she asked what they were for, Manuel told her they were for work. The men belonged to a local group that called themselves scientific spiritualists. They blended Kardexis spiritism with amateur electronics and belief in extraterrestrial life. Their ultimate goal was to establish contact with what they believed to be a highly advanced civilization on Mars. A neighbor recalled walking in on the men as they hammered the lead pipe. When he asked what they were building, they told him they were inventing a device to prevent the end of the world, which they predicted would arrive in 1968. The police later interviewed a local yoga professor familiar with the spiritualist group. He testified that members regularly ingested psychedelic drugs to tune their brains to the correct frequency for alien contact. This diagram isolates the phrases ingest capsules and protect metals. While written on Miguel's personal notepad, the formal vocabulary and unusual syntax deviate from his known personal letters. It has the distinct cadence of a series of instructions being dictated by an outside party. The lead masks and the missing capsules were specific, calculated tools. The men were following a strict regimen provided by an unknown third party, preparing their bodies for a blinding physical encounter. This forensic chart maps out the 4 leading theories of their deaths. First, accidental overdose. If the men were ingesting capsules to reach a spiritual state, the psychedelics may have been lethal or intentionally laced with poison by whoever supplied them. Second is murder. Miguel and Manuel arrived on the hill with a massive amount of cash that vanished. Witnesses reported a jeep carrying 5 unidentified men near the hill, and there is an unaccounted 21-minute timeline gap before they began their climb. Third, a scientific miscalculation. The coroner initially suggested the men might have died from lethal neutron bombardment. A year later, authorities actually subjected strands of the victims' hair to atomic testing in Sao Paulo to check for radiation spikes. Fourth is successful contact. Between the untraceable military signals, the crater on Atafona Beach, and the specific use of heavy metal to shield their retinas, the men may have exposed themselves to a fatal unknown emission. Investigators found themselves in a forensic deadlock. Every theory aligns with a portion of the evidence, while completely ignoring the rest of the physical reality found on that hill. Over the years, the authorities amassed a staggering amount of data on the case. The official file grew to 4,000 pages of detailed police reports, witness testimonies, forensic photographs, and the original physical evidence, including the masks themselves. But today, none of it exists. Following a standard administrative protocol for inactive cold cases, the Brazilian police incinerated the entire physical case file. The evidence was actively destroyed. Miguel and Manuel rest in the Cajus cemetery. Due to the botched autopsy, their death certificates permanently list the cause of death as undetermined. The lead masks, crude and hand-hammered, possess a functionality that has nothing to do with scientific radiation shielding. Their design only serves one clear purpose: to ensure the wearer is ritualistically blinded. 2 men went up a hill in 1966, following instructions from a voice we will never identify. The horror of the lead masks case lies in the realization that even the most meticulously documented events can simply be erased into silence, leaving us completely blind to what they saw.